Hey man, my name is Fred the Coach.
And I'm the Beacon. And welcome to the Point Blank Perspectives podcast.
This podcast is we basically just talking about men issues, whatever they may be. We're not here to down no man, whatever the situation is going on around us. We want to, just bring light to men's situation and the things they go through. That's basically what this podcast is about. Also, it's you're coming from two different points of view. I'm married, and
I'm not married.
right, so we're going to
No,
give
I'm
you
single.
2 points of views on different things. And and we're cousins. So just so everybody would know, we're cousins.
Blood cousins, not
Blood,
street cousins.
yeah, blood cousins, yeah. And so we had a conversation, and we seen.
Whoa.
Okay.
You gotta give them the topic because we official now. This ain't just us talking. We gotta give them the topic first.
Okay, the topic for this whatever you want to say,
This
podcast, this is a big topic. Dads, men. The topic is cheering kids on. That me and the Beacon, we had a conversation about it because something happened and we talked about it, and I have a different way on how I look at it when they're talking about cheering kids on.
And before we go on, I just want to say there's nothing wrong with cheering kids on. In fact, you should cheer kids on. But in this particular conversation, like my cousin said, there was an instance that happened, and we were debating on whether the kid should be cheered on or not. And so we're going to get a little bit into that throughout this conversation. So
Because a lot of times when you got to be careful when you talk about cheering your kids on, because a lot of times I'm just talking about the men. That's all we're talking about. A lot of times, ladies, please don't be offended when we say that. A lot of times, men live through their kids, especially if they got a boy, especially if their kid is playing the same sport they used to play.
or thought they could play.
Right, we gonna go with you. You thought you could play, but you might, especially if I had a Letterman jacket, and every time I hear somebody start to go back in the day, you know what I think of, man? I think of Al Bundy,
Al
man.
Bundy.
I think of Al. I don't want to do no curses, but I really think of Al Bundy, man. You that's the picture I think. You with your Letterman jacket on too short for you, or you wasn't really that good.
But you know what, though? I just realized we might have some listeners that don't know who Al Bundy is.
Oh. Well, let me tell you, Google Al
Because
Bundy.
we was both born in the 1900s, so.
Right. So just Google Al Bundy. You'll know who it is. Married with children. Google that, and he always talk how But
But everybody knows somebody. You probably got an uncle that's like that, or a brother that's like that, or a cousin that's like that. Still
Right.
talking about what they did at the homecoming game 20 years ago. Still wearing their Letterman jacket to Thanksgiving. Ain't played a game since. Ain't played a game in like 20 years. Still got their championship jacket on. Like, get out of here.
and that's why a lot of times now they're getting to where you have to now protect the referees, because it's starting to get out of control where there are parents that want to fight the referee, because in that parent mind, you think your kid is better than what they really are. And it's okay it's okay as a parent or an adult to cheer for that kid. But when it gets over the line, I want to fight the referee. I've been out there some of them Pee Wee games, and I'm looking at like, okay, it's a game. So I believe that if a kid is doing something, you cheer him on. Do you believe that? No, you don't believe that. You don't believe that.
I do believe that.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Man, you don't believe that.
Listen, man, we gonna get into it, but I'm telling you, I do believe that you should cheer kids on. I got nieces and nephews, and when they doing their thing, I cheer them on.
So let me ask you this question. Okay, cool, and that's fine.
Because that's another thing that we got to mention too about this conversation. So, Fred, the coach, he has a kid. The Beacon, I don't have any kids. So those are the two different perspectives that we'll be speaking from today.
Right. And so let me ask you this something. Jerome. So
Wait a minute, you just said my.
Okay, my bad.
Don't
The
worry about it.
beacon.
It's all good.
Okay, so
I'm Jerome. It's cool.
let's say your kid ain't that good. Let's say they're not really that good. Do you feel as though you should still cheer the kid on?
Now we're getting into the conversation. Now this is the conversation that we talking about, because that's how this came up. We both witnessed children performing, and we had different perspectives on what the performance was, and when one of us vocalized our dismay with the performance, while the other had the perspective of, oh, well, you know, they kids, so you got to cheer them on.
Yeah.
And I wasn't feeling that. I wasn't feeling that at all. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So to answer your question, I do believe in cheering kids on, but when they are showing either lack of effort or lack of talent, I do think that there's a line that needs to be drawn to say, hey, you need to do something else, because this ain't it.
But, and so okay, I hear you. But that kid may say, man, I really want to do this. Let me give. So now my question to you is there a time limit that a parent, especially a male, if we're dealing with his son, or if he's dealing with his daughter, is it a time limit where a dad gonna say, well, you know what? It's over, man. Or I ain't gonna say, I'm not gonna say a dad, excuse me. I'm not gonna say a dad, I'm gonna say a parent. You know what, it's over. Just give it up. Is you're telling me, is that the way you should go at a kid?
So it's not a day one thing, in my opinion. Like, it's not as soon as the first day you try it, if you're not good, I'm not saying, oh no, that ain't gonna work. I'm not saying that at all.
Okay.
But a lot of factors depend on when you pull the cord. So like, am I paying for this as a parent? Am I seeing any type of, because sometimes kids want to do stuff depending on their age. They want to do something, and you can know from day one they probably won't be good at it. But you want to give them a chance to try to work through it and see how far they can develop and grow and that sort of thing. So I think that matters, their level of effort, the level of talent that they have, how much it costs. Trying to think of something else that might factor into when you pull them.
Let me say this. As a parent, as a parent and they pay a fee, and their kid may not play. Okay, I can go. But my kid not coming out there because parents say they need to know that we ain't no quitters. No, probably because you paid that fee and you don't want to take the loss on that fee. Your kid, I believe that if your kid is, I always believe you give an A for effort. You don't bust their dreams like that.
Listen, I didn't say nothing about busting no kid's dream. I said you give them some time. Like, you give them time to try to figure it out.
What's time?
It depends on what we're talking about. It's different things, and we'll get into that later, because I know we got some ideas around, like, well, we're gonna actually touch on the actual situation that we saw, and then there's a couple other situations we said we wanted to get into.
Okay.
But in terms of cheering on kids that aren't talented in general, I don't like that. And I get what you're saying about you don't want to crush your kids' dreams, but here's my issue with cheering kids on that don't have, or that's not fit for whatever it is they're trying to do in that element, right? My issue is that you create a mindset and an environment of, to me, entitlement. Because
what?
Let me explain. Because here's what's happening.
Parents, you hear this?
Yeah, parents. Maybe a lot of them probably need to hear this. So I hope they do hear this.
Go ahead,
Some of y'all out here with these kids.
Go ahead, man.
Some of y'all out here, y'all don't have the guts to tell your kid when they're not good at something. And so what happens is your kid goes through life thinking, I can do whatever I want. I can say whatever I want. It don't matter the level of effort I put in. It don't matter whether I'm respectful to it or any of that, because they've been raised in an environment to where it's like, if I want something or if I want to do something, that's okay. And my parents going to support me no matter what. To me, that's a problem. Now, I get it. In certain elements, it's like, okay, you don't want to crush your kids' dreams and spirits and all of that. So at certain age groups, you got to be a little more sensitive than others. But I do think that when you don't give your kids the reality of things, that you're setting them up for a potential disaster longer down the line.
Yeah, that's. I hear that.
I hope the rest of these parents heard that.
Okay, so let's say my kid sports. Now this is tricky when you're talking about sports because if I'm a parent that played the sport and I sit up there and say, "Oh, football. Let's take football.
Let's take football
or basketball, whatever sports it is," and you played it in high school, and you may not made Division 1, you may have made Division 3. Now you got a kid. Your kid, you know what, Dad? I want to play sports. Most parents get if the kid has followed in their footsteps, they are very excited. They're not going to shoot that kid down.
But we talking about the initial part of it. We're saying I'm the parent. I played that sport. My kid is coming to me saying that they want to play that same sport. We're talking about at that point, right? No problem with that. All right, cool. My son wants to do, or my daughter wants to do what I did.
Okay.
Bet. I'm all for that. Let's see what you got. Now,
let's say
this is where I'm gonna start seeing what's going on.
Okay, so now the kid may not start. Maybe the kid's better than him or her, whatever you may do. If your kid is not starting or whatever, is not really playing that much, and you're actually living through that kid, do you blame the kid? Is your mind starting to get foggy where, you know what, my kid may not be that good, or you know what, that coach is prejudiced against my kid. My kid is better than and now you see parents start to say, my kid is better than so and so, so and so and so. No, your kid not. Your kid ain't better than them. What are we doing here? What do you say about that?
Well, for me, it's not about whether you start or not.
Okay.
It's not about that. But I also, if I'm being real, I never was like the super sport athlete when I was in high school. So
Okay.
I don't have the lineage of, oh yeah, like, you know,
Got you.
he's this all-star
Got you.
college player or high school player. Like, that's not my background. So I don't have that. Now, my thing is, if they want to play and they try out and they make the team, all right, cool. But now I want to see how committed are you how committed to this thing are you? Like, just because you're not starting, are you now like not going to practice all the time? Are you do you not know the playbook? Are you not exercising? Because we're talking about sports, right?
Yeah.
Are you not exercising? Are you like what are you doing? Like, are you trying to get to a point to where you're going to start? Like, are you trying to do that? And that's all again dependent on whether I'm paying for it or not. So if it's free, do whatever you want. I don't care. But if I'm paying for it, trust and believe you're gonna hear something if I see you ain't giving no effort.
But paying for it or not shouldn't matter.
No, it does.
No.
Why not? Why not?
It does. If I'm paying for it or not, and my kid isn't giving the effort as you say, then I should be. No, you got to give that effort up. If I'm paying for it, not, because that's when parents sit there and say, you know what, you what you giving up.
That's okay. That's
parents
fair.
Parents will do the blame game. I mean the guilt game. You know, back in my day, then this is when the Al Bundy syndrome come in. Back in my day, when I was tackling them people. And if we see video back in your day, you probably sitting on the bench with your son. Why are you sitting on the bench with your son? Come on, well, your kid should be. Come on, man. Come on. But you know, so sports is real tricky when you come to cheering your kid on, because if you cheer and say that's my kid, if that kid messes up, you know the ridicule that comes behind that also. Now that's another different story. Now you arguing with another parent. That's my kid. Get that mother off the floor. That mother is a bum. Now your pride. That's my kid. I gotta defend your kid. You know for a fact. You know what? My kid ain't that big, ain't that bad, ain't that good. But I'm still cheering my kid on. They out there giving the effort. I'm sorry, Jerome. I'm sorry, Beacon. You cheer your kid on. Now you can tell them later on, you know, I say play it, ride it all the way out.
But if we talk about sports, though, sports typically have a season, right? So
Yeah.
it's like I have to see you through that season. So if you're not good, you're on the team for this. I mean, unless they just cut you, like my son is or my daughter is just that terrible that they like, look, man, we got to make a room for somebody else. We rather, matter of fact, we'd rather have a 52-man roster than 53 because your kid trash. Like,
Oh, that's cool. All right. So now let me ask you this question. Now it's time. Your kids say, well, you know what, Dad? I want to now sing. Whoa. Do you cheer your kid on with the singing?
can my kid sing? Because if my kid can sing, we cheering all day long.
In your mind, your kid,
No,
your kid,
no.
drone,
No.
I mean, Beacon.
Can my kid sing?
In your mind, your kid can sing. Ain't too many
In my
parents.
mind, my kid can sing.
Ain't too many parents out there talking about my kid can't sing. No. Parents ain't doing that. If you,
I don't have no kids.
Oh, okay.
So you can't use this on me.
No.
That question is really a question you should be answering.
Okay, so let me. All right, you're right. Okay, you're right. You don't have no kid. If your kid gets up there and give an effort, most of the time, 95% of the time, you don't have a problem. Go ahead.
No, what are you doing as a parent? Because you're an actual parent.
What am I
Your
doing
kid-
as a parent?
If your kid is singing and your kid can't sing, what are you doing? In the crowd, what are you doing?
You ask me what am I doing?
You've been asking me questions. I'm asking you questions.
I am praying that that his voice gets better, and I'm praying to God like how do I actually handle this? Because right now I'm going to be dealing with an ego that you say it the wrong way, it's getting bruised.
But are you cheering your kid on is the question. If your kid can't sing,
it
are
doesn't-
you cheering him on?
I will not tell my kid you can't sing. I won't say that. I will not do that to my kid.
So you're cheering your kid on.
I am going to cheer my kid on. Yes, I am. I'm cheering my kid on. I may not say it loud like, grandbaby, you're the best. I may not do that. You do the solid clap, or you just in spirit with your kid. And then at a certain point, I'm going to try to get my kid all the help they can get. Because especially that's the worst thing you want to do when you're sitting there and your kid really wants to do something, especially if your kid has tried a few things and your kid is just not good at nothing.
Right.
You know it, but what do? Don't worry about it, man. Let's try something else. And you go ahead and your kid is trying. Everybody can't sing.
So here's the thing. Because we talked about sports first, and we talked about how sports is typically a season. So I said, I would typically I would if I was a parent, I would give up my kid at least the entire season.
I'm with you.
If the coach allowed them that.
Okay, I agree with you. I agree with
now,
you.
choir or singing is a little different because with singing, now this is literally how many times are you performing? So you got school plays, you got choirs, you got like different performances that you can do. So I guess my question to you as that parent who has that kid who might not necessarily be able to sing, how many times are you giving your kid an opportunity to sing?
So I would do it because we have these cell phones. I would record my kid, and then I would let my kid hear himself or herself and say, "Listen, look, baby, this I recorded it." Stop! Don't do that! Don't do that! Baby, I recorded you, and then let your kid hear himself or herself. Let them hear themselves, because again, you really don't want to do that. That's a real tight, thin rope you're walking when your kid got their heart on something, and you like, you know what? I know my kid ain't as good, because you like 95% sure you know if your kid is good enough. Okay. And if your kid can't hold a note in, let's say, church, okay? Let's go for church, and your kid up there, and I always say, if a kid is up there singing, God bless their heart. If anybody's up there singing, God bless their heart, because they're doing something I just couldn't do.
Okay.
But now when we're talking about little people, and they're up there singing and stuff like that, again, I'll pull a camera out and record them, because people in church, they're not going to say take your kid off. They're not going to do that. They're going to be like, go ahead, let your kid sing. He's singing to God. Bless his heart.
Enablers.
No, you're not. You're not going to do that. You're not going.
No, I know what you're saying.
You're just not going to do that to the kid, because you don't want to. Because a little kid, and it really depends on how old that kid is.
Right.
Because when you start to get up there, like,
I mean, we talking about kids, so I guess that's another thing to put into context. So really the conversation that we were having was based around kids that were like, I don't know, somewhere between 4 and 8 or something like that.
right, and
So those are little kids.
they're little kids, and little kids to me between that age, they get a pass. Even if they're not the best singer, they get a pass because they are trying.
See, and
Most parents gonna tell you that. My kid get a pass.
listen, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. But it comes a certain point to where, as the parent, because you are the parent, you have to establish a certain level of quality. And it's like, okay, like to your point, like I love what you just said. I love the fact that you said I would record my kid and let them hear themselves. Now, the reason why I was laughing when you were saying it is because in my mind I'm thinking to myself, would you tell them that it was them singing, or would you just play the recording and ask them how they like it?
Oh no. If I went that far, I'm playing the recording, and this is you.
See, I don't think you should do that,
Why not?
because I think when you tell the kid that, they already are preparing their minds, if they're that type of kid, to tell themselves, "Oh yeah, I sound good." If they really genuinely don't sound good, when they hear it, that's probably going to be the first time that they're hearing themselves not sounding good. But when you tell them that, hey, this is you singing, and then you press play, now they trying to make excuses in their head. Some kids, not all kids, but some kids will try to justify why they sound like what they sound like.
Right, and then that's when you get sit up and drop the hammer. Not real hard, but it's like, no, this ain't you. We're gonna. This is you. You're not. No, this is not you. This is not you. We should try something different. Because
So how long are you letting that go until you do that?
if I hear somebody in the audience say, "Man, who kid is that?" Then it's time.
That's probably me if your kid can't sing.
Oh Jesus, jeez, good God Almighty.
Who this boy? Boo!
And then at a point, I need to look at myself first. And it's hard for a parent to have a kid. Am I living through that kid? Because if you say you don't have a kid, you say it to me, "Man, you living through your kid," I'm gonna immediately deny it.
Right.
No, I ain't living through my kid. I was better than my kid. You're gonna say something. You're gonna deny it immediately.
Right.
So it's up to me to decide. And a lot of times I say this again: if you are paying that money, independent on how much money that is, I don't know if you're gonna take that loss. I don't know if I'm a.
So that's what I was saying earlier. I was saying the money matters in certain cases.
Right, it does.
Because, so even let's just take singing, right? Like if my kid wants to be a individual star, now we ain't talking about choir. Church, especially church choir, you can get up on a church choir for free. You can do that. But if we talking about you want to be a legit singer, like this is what your passion is, I have to pay for singing lessons and photo shoots.
Right.
And I got to get you into all these different contestants and all that type of stuff. And you can't sing? Oh no, we gonna wrap that up real quick.
No. You got to remember now, if you're going that far as a parent, and you talking about, I'm giving you singing lessons, I'm giving you, headshots of your photo, and I'm doing all these things that set you up, in my mind, you have a chance to be a star.
Well, that's fair too.
Because because I'm not doing all that, my money, I get up 2:30 in the morning, and then I work at all this overtime to see you down there, and you sound like sugar honey iced tea, and you sound like that. You better get your behind. Now I start to say, well, you know what? This may not be my kid. It just may not work for my kid. We're going to try something new. But at a certain point, you got to be careful about that. Because if you sit there and say, yo, this ain't going to do it, your kid will start to get discouraged and be like, you know what, I don't want to do nothing. Then that's dangerous.
That is dangerous.
You know what, I don't want to do nothing. I'm good. Now, you know what I mean?
So, I hear what you're saying. And I think the delivery does definitely matter.
Yeah.
So I would never try to embarrass the kid. I would never try to shame the kid or make fun of him or anything like that. But I think it's more constructive to at least let them know, like you said, hey, this might not be for you. That's my whole thing with all of that. So that's really what I'm talking about.
Wow.
And then I know we talked about sports, we talked about singing. So what about if your kid thinks that they might want to start a business or run a business or be an entrepreneur? What are your thoughts about that?
Excuse me. That's a good thing. It can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. And most parents will consider it a bad thing if money is tight and I need to come out my pocket to provide you with your dream. Most parents is going to say, okay, well, what can we do for you? How can we do it for you to reach that goal? And a lot of time parents be like, well, did you do your research? We're saying all these things because we know if you did your research and you did it just right, it's like, all right, if I see you putting the work in, cool. I'm going to get behind you. And it's just like the sports and the singing. If I see you putting that work in with that entrepreneurship, all right, and then it's like, then we also look at it like, excuse me, what do you want to do? A good parent should sit up there and say, okay, what do you want to do? Now my thing is, why do you even want to do that? Because when you hit the street, when you get out there in the world, they gonna be like, well, why should I spend any money on you? Why should I back you? You got to know why. So I don't think it's nothing the matter with why should I back you? What are we doing here? As you always say, what you're trying to do in entrepreneurship, what does that look like? That's what it comes down. What does that look like to you? So, because I need to know your vision.
Right.
I need to know your vision so I don't know what
you better have a vision. If you're trying to be an entrepreneur, I mean, even if it's a short-term vision, you should have some type of vision. Like, we should not be starting a business and you haven't even given it any type of thought at all.
Right.
So I would hope that kid had a vision. My fault, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And then it's another important thing is financial part of it. As a parent, my kid, well, how much come out my pocket? I'm doing what part do you play in as far as getting capital up?
Right.
Do your kid as a parent? You should be saying, do my kid understand what they're getting ready to get into? Do my kid understand the dedication that it takes to get to this point?
Right.
Because a lot of times our kids look at social media where they're like, oh yeah, I want to do that. Well, do you understand what it takes?
Right.
Or dad, mom, I'm trying to do this. Do you understand what it takes to get there?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or you got your nieces and nephews.
Right.
And if they would have asked you going to tell them, this is what it takes to get there. Mm-hmm. And when you're having that conversation with that kid, now I can hear what you're saying, but I'm looking at your body language. I'm looking at your face. Because that's going to tell me everything right there.
Right.
If you be like, okay, all right, now your words are you're starting to get a little meek now. You're starting to be a little humble. You ain't all gun-ho. Yeah, now you're starting to be like, you know what? Well, well, you know what? Yeah, when you start to say, you know what, that this may not be the road you want to go down. This may not be the entrepreneur thing you want to do. And so what do you look at? I mean, not having no kids, if your nieces and nephews were to come to you, what would you tell them? Because you're in the corporate world, am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I ain't going to put your company out there, but you're in the corporate world.
It's cool. But I think for the entrepreneurship, out of the three things we talked about with this topic of cheering kids on, right? Mm-hmm. So we talked about sports, and we talked about a kid wanting to be a singer or singing, and now we're talking about entrepreneurship. I think entrepreneurship is the one that I have the most patience with.
Okay.
And I agree with almost everything that you just said. And to be honest with you, I would prefer, let me say this: as a parent myself, if I were to become a parent, I would focus more on entrepreneurship than any of the other two that we just talked about.
Okay.
Because of the fact that entrepreneurship is so vital to life and survival. Because we got the sounds going.
Yeah. We clap for that.
But no, I'm saying because entrepreneurship, like if you can learn how to earn a dollar, an honest dollar on your own, that changes the game in terms of how you see life, man. Because you're not limited to what school I want to go to, what area I have to live in. If you learn how to truly make a dollar, you can go anywhere in the world.
Gotcha.
And make a dollar.
That's true.
And I think it changes the perspective of life in general to teach a kid entrepreneurship. Now, obviously, most entrepreneurs struggle before they finally hit that one that gets them over the top. So they're going to have a lot of failed tries. But it's going to be so many lessons that they learn that are going to be valuable to the rest of their life. That
not to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
So what you're saying, I agree. Now, are you still cheering your nieces and nephews on?
If they're failing in business?
If they're failing and you like, are you still cheering them on?
I am.
Okay.
I am because again, they're learning life lessons in entrepreneurship. When you're a bad singer, you're just embarrassing yourself. When you're a bad athlete, you're just embarrassing yourself. And as a matter of fact, you're embarrassing us as a unit in a family.
Wait a minute, hold on. You're telling me if the kid is a small kid, Pee-wee League, and that kid get trucked.
My kid got trucked?
Yeah, your kid
Get him off the field. Get him off the field.
Come on, no.
Look, man, have some dignity. Don't get trucked. I'd rather you get out the way and then tell me every excuse in the book as to why you didn't get in the way.
But if you get trucked. But again, you know, because if you're sitting up there and you put in your kid head, you know what? We don't want to keep on going back there, but you put in your kid, you 100% of it, and your kid gives 100%.
And he get trucked.
I
mean, to be honest with you,
you can't get trucked.
No, but listen, that happens though. Like that,
right.
Just like if you play basketball long enough, somebody
you gonna get dunked
over or get dunked on.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So things are going to happen. I'm not saying that. Right. I'm just saying we know when we see bums in sports.
Right. Okay.
But
the entrepreneur. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like you know when your kids are not good at something.
Right. That's true.
But I'm saying that there's a lot of parents. Well, there's some parents that turn a blind eye to the fact that their kid is not good at something, and they just cheer them on because it's their kid or because they are a kid. And I'm saying that that's not beneficial at all to the kid.
That's true.
Because it's not teaching that kid anything. It's just showing them that, I'm entitled. It makes you entitled. I don't see how that treatment does not make a kid feel entitled.
But if I'm a parent and I'm living through my kid, I'm just as blind as my kid.
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
Well, if I had a varsity jacket, right, and I went to a Division III school, my kid, in my eyes, is better than me, and I'm like, you know what? My kid got a couple of offers to junior colleges.
So your kid got some talent.
You got in your school is your son.
If he getting offers, he got talent.
Yeah, your kid got talent.
He might not be the next NFL star, but he got talent if he gets scholarships.
We're not gonna just say son. We're gonna say son or daughter.
we can say whatever we want.
Okay, your kid, right? We
Yeah,
use your
kids.
kid, right? We use your kid. Because some people say, "Man, my girl." Okay, you're right.
Yeah, your girl too. Whatever.
We definitely sorry. But and a lot of times, what you were saying, there's a lot of times where if I'm living through my kid, I'm not going to destroy. I'm not going to. I'm not, if I'm living through my kid, I'm not going to. I will not destroy my dream. It's not my kid.
No, I know that's a real thing.
It's my dream.
Yeah, I know that's a real thing. And it happens mostly in like with the first two topics we talked about, sports and entertainment. That's the main ones where it happened at. Because you got a parent that either they did it and they were good at it, and so now they think their kids should be doing it, or they did it and they didn't have the turnout that they wanted, and so now they want to force that through their kid. Or it's somebody who never did anything in it but always wanted to do it, and now that they have a kid, they're going to force their kid
to do that,
even though they never did nothing in it. Because you got those parents too.
Yeah.
So you know it's an interesting dynamic when you talk about sports and entertainment. But going back to entrepreneurship though, if there was any area that I think parents should push their kids to really at least attempt, because everybody's not going to be an entrepreneur, right? So there's going to be some people in this world like me. I got a job. Like I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't own my. Well, I have a nonprofit, but that's different. But I'm just saying I don't have a for-profit business that I run on a daily basis that pays all my bills. I don't have that.
Right. Okay.
And to me, when you're talking about entrepreneurship, it's not always about paying all your bills off and all that. But I mean, that's the goal that most entrepreneurs want to be able to get to at a minimum, so that you don't have to work for nobody else.
Right.
But again, most parents, if there's anything that you should be stressing, in my opinion, is you should be stressing teaching your kids how to make an honest dollar on their own. Because at that point, once they learn that, the world is their oyster.
How about if I don't know what that looks like?
Well, I'm hoping now, because we live in a digital age now. So there was a time in life where, you know, we didn't have technology. You didn't have Google. You didn't have YouTube. You didn't have ChatGPT and all these other things. There's so many resources out now that and a lot of these kids know about the resources more than the parents do.
Right. So it's
really just conditioning the kid to look things up.
Right. Okay.
Find the information.
Not to cut you. So you're saying.
That's the third time you done cut me off.
I apologize.
I'm just letting you know, dog. There ain't gonna be too many more cutting me off.
So entrepreneurship is big to you as far as cheering, bigger than sports and singing.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair, and that's fair.
Yes, I would cheer. My kid could have. I'd rather my kid have 4 failed attempts at business than 4 tries of being on some singing stage and sounding terrible, or 4 years trying to play a sport that they can't play and they possibly even might get hurt or something like that. Like, I'd much rather put the energy in just you learning how to work through it, because that's another thing about entrepreneurship. It teaches you so many other things besides just making money. It teaches you how to be strategic, how to network, how to communicate, because you got to be able to communicate what you're doing. It teaches you how to get through adversity. There's so many things that you learn. So I think.
But we can get to that topic. We can, at another podcast session.
So I'm cheering my kids on.
Okay. So now let's when you're talking about cheering on, what about the education in your career? Are you cheering your kid on when it comes to your education and career?
I'm always cheering any kid on for education and career, right? But I think for that one in particular, I want to know that the kid has a passion for education at a certain level. So we know, like, when you go through K through 12, that's like almost automatic. I mean, they have some schools now for more creative students and stuff like that. So parents, I would encourage you to pay attention to that, because I think if your kid is not really a book kid or an academic kid, there's other alternatives out there too to get your kid through school and that sort of thing. So I encourage that. But again, I think the biggest thing with cheering my kid on is making sure that I'm cheering them on for the right thing.
Makes sense.
So when it comes to education, both of my parents went to college, right? So they cheered me on to go to college. Now, the thing was, when I first graduated high school, I barely got through high school because I lost interest in that. And so I wasn't ready to go straight to college when I got out of high school. So I ended up going to like a trade school first. And then I went to college.
Okay.
And then my first 2 years there, I did okay, and then I had some stuff happen in my life, and my grades just got all messed up. But by the time I went back to college, I was ready to be there.
Okay.
And so I think the challenge is sometimes, or most of the time, especially in Black community, I think I can say that confidently. A lot of times we're taught, go to school, get your education, get a job.
Right.
And so it's like go to middle school, K through 8, go to high school, and then go straight to college, and then you come out and get a job. The problem is, if you go to college and you don't have the will to want to be there, or if you don't have the focus or the maturity to be there, it's going to be a bad situation. And not only will you not be successful, but you got to pay for college.
Right. So how do you cheer your kid on to if I see my kid going down that road, if I'm able to see it, because a lot of times kids are away.
Yeah, facts.
How do I cheer my kid on if we want to use that? Because we're talking about cheering kids on. How do I cheer my kid on back on track? I never went to college, so how do I cheer my kid on?
All right, we tapping back in. Testing. We tapping back in. We had some technical issues. But I know I was answering a question. What was the question?
My question is, if there's a parent and they know that their kid may be a little down and I need to cheer my kid up, how do you cheer your kid up that you may think, or how would you cheer your niece and nephews up from a distance?
I mean, I do that now.
Okay.
I have nieces and nephews that do sports. So right now, I can't make it to every game just because of the nature of my schedule and job and everything. So I just try to reach out to them and try to give them encouragement and words of wisdom. And times when I hear them doubting themselves, just try to remind them like, hey, that was only one bad moment. You still got tomorrow. You still got the next minute. You just try to be that beacon. And that's why they call me the beacon.
All right. So my final perspective on all this, I feel as though no matter what it is, you cheer your kid on and stop and just don't live through your kid. That's just the way the coach see it.
And the way that the beacon sees it is cheer your kid on, but within reason. If your kid is trash or something, be trash. Like, let's just be real. Male, female, whatever gender and all that, it don't matter. If your kid is trash, you know your kid is trash, and you need to let them know that. Now, be patient with them, be respectful. Don't try to break their spirits or embarrass them or nothing like that. But just be honest with them, because you do so much better by them and for their future by just being honest with them.
And that's coming from the coach
and the beacon.
And this is our Point Blank Perspective podcast.